All right.
Welcome back to the 13th Destiny with Magnum podcast. And of course, my co-host is standing by on the phone out there in lovely San Diego, California. Almost as hot as we are, or maybe even hotter, right? Pretty hot out there right now. So,
hello, everybody.
There she is. Yeah, we've been talking about our hot weather both directions, Kentucky and California of late. So, do our real quick shout-outs, and then we're going to have an interesting show today. We're going to talk about a couple of documentary movies, Paranormal Investigations up in Michigan, and I'll give the rest of that in just a minute. But let's do the shout-outs first. All right, first off, always remember that our sponsor is the t-shirtgrove.com. That is the TEE-shirtgrove.com. Check them out. They are... Yes, they are the main...
Everything's on sale.
Ah, there you go. Everything's on sale right now. There you go. Be sure to check them out. They are the main sponsor. And then, of course, we have our friends over there at the Holiday Inn, University Plaza Hotel, here at 1021 Wilkerson Trace in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Over 20 years of business with them. Great place to stay. They got a really nice restaurant. Great buffet for breakfast. If you love breakfast buffet, great for that. And on Sundays, the buffet is even longer. It goes to, I think, to 12 o'clock now. So, and you don't have to be staying there to go over there. So check that out. And, of course, our friends over at Oak Grove Racing and Gaming, in their hotel over there as well. They're over in Oak Grove, Kentucky, near the Fort Campbell military base, home of the 101st Airborne of the United States Army. So check them out too. Great people over there. Love them over there when I get a chance to go over there. Haven't been over there in a while. But great security team over there, and hats off to you guys. And last but not least, I've got I'm going to say a shout out to Stacy, Brittany, and Laney over at the Watermill Restaurant over in Cave City, Kentucky, home of Mammoth Cave National Park, the largest cave in the world. So go over there and check them out. It's kind of like the local and tourist combined area. So check it out. It's got a great all-you-can-eat catfish. I love catfish. I think everybody knows out here. I love it. So check that out. And now we're going to get into one of the most haunted places in Michigan, if not the most haunted, and also one of the most haunted in the United States. This is the Dice Road area of Saginaw County, Michigan. And it's a little hard to find some of the stuff there. There are some people that live in that area, and it's related to this situation. It was a little bit larger population at one time, and then there's been some things that have changed over the years, and we'll talk about that. So Danielle and I watched both these movies on this with these Paranormal Investigators here in the last couple of days, and I will say this: these were some experienced paranormal.
What's the movie name?
Haunting of Dice Road is the. What's the first one's about the people that had that one house, the family, and then the other one is the Hell House one. So you got a part one and a part two. Haunting on Dice Road, correct? Yeah, Haunting on Dice Road. Yeah, they're part one and part two, and like I said, they're very experienced investigators. And if you watch this thing, there's times that even some of the stuff in this investigation, and we're only going to do a short show today, so I don't want to give away a lot of stuff. We just want to talk about these movies because they are related to paranormal stuff that we talk about here from time to time on the show. And of course, we know some paranormal investigators personally, and of course, we've had some on the show. I have never seen these movies up until recently. I'd heard about them, but I'd never seen them. And these people were an experienced team. They've dealt with a lot of stuff, and you will even in the movie, if you will watch these documentaries, you'll see that even they got some things at these locations that they were shooken. You could tell it. It was not normal for them. One in particular had even said at one point, he said, "I've seen a lot of stuff and I'm not scared." And this is like, I will give that part away. I won't tell what happened, but in part two, he was making a statement, trying to make contact with whatever was going on there. And then later on, he was saying he wasn't scared, and then there was something that happened, and it actually scared him. And you can see the reaction. These reactions are real. They weren't faked. You can tell by the team that their reactions are 100% real. Definitely none of this is a fake. It is 100% on target. And we have someone trying to call in on our other line, but I'm not going to take it. So if you hear a beep, that may be what you're hearing. I'll apologize for that in advance. But they were a very good documentary, and there's a lot of history to that. I'm going to see how much I can talk about without giving away a lot about the documentary. But there was a lot of people that died in that area. There's 2 houses at least that have a lot of activity. One in particular caused a lot of police officers to be scared in the early 70s. Now I heard what I said, police officers to be scared. Because they got to a point where things were happening they couldn't explain, and some of them got to where they didn't want to go back out there. I will give away this. There's one particular scene. Now, they never mentioned, I don't think they mentioned his name, but they just said that he had been a deputy sheriff, but he'd also been an Army Ranger. And this guy got spooked. So what it boils down to is that it's not just your average paranormal things. There's a lot of demonic. They believe there's a lot of demonic stuff that's going on there. There's some witchcraft that was involved in one of the areas with one of the families. But let's go back a little further. This town had a general store in it at one time. A lot of farmers and stuff met there. And then there was a plague that came through. Plagues of the early, late 1800s, turn of the century kind of stuff. Those things, and turn to the 20th century. Sorry. From the 19th to the 20th century. So there was a lot of people who died here, and there was a lot of stuff in the town was burned down. There was a lot of stuff that was moved, obviously, because of the burning of the other stuff. I won't give in all...
Wait a minute. Who's all the people that... Because I watched the same thing. What I know is there was a family there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is 1974 or 1975, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's the first one. Yeah, that's in the first film.
Okay, that's the first family that was in that house on Dice Road that had the really, really bad, scary stuff happening. A bunch of pounding on the walls.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many documents. There's a lot of documents, right, from... Like the police, they would call the police all the time.
Yeah, every night just about.
Yeah, I mean, things dropping. Then they were hearing like loud booms, and it was frightening. Now the police would actually set up around the house to see if anybody It got to a point, right? Where the police would just set up around the house.
Yeah, they were staking it out.
And make sure that no one was going there and doing that to them, because they thought maybe someone was doing that, or trying to explain it some other way.
Right.
But the people and the witnesses that went inside there, they just. They got freaked out because it happened while they were in there. So they were like, yeah. And they thought also, though, that it was hooked to the, they thought at one point it was hooked to the teenage son. Right?
Right, exactly.
But then, didn't he have a polygraph later on?
He had a polygraph, and then all the other family members also were brought in for polygraph. And, of course, it's not admissible evidence, but as far as their passing it, they all passed it with flying colors. I mean, like I say, you couldn't use the court, but this was just to establish, whether or not there was anything that would show out of the ordinary from them, and it wasn't. And then
eyewitnesses.
Yeah, even eyewitnesses from the police that were sitting in the cars or getting out or seeing lights or seeing or hearing pounding themselves, and they couldn't explain it. And I think when they got to where they couldn't explain it with all the stuff that was going on, like that particular one that said he would not go back out there, I'm like, you're talking about some, especially back then, this is, I found it amazing that the Army Ranger, former Army Ranger deputy sheriff, that would have been a time that he would have probably served in Vietnam. So if you're being that scared with something and you served in Vietnam, I mean, they didn't say that, but I'm just putting that it was Vietnam. I was putting with the time frame that he probably served in Vietnam as an Army Ranger, and I'm like, if you're an Army Ranger that served in Vietnam and you are scared of something here like that, that is definitely something that really caught my attention. I was like, wow. I'm like, this is just over the top crazy with stuff that's going on at this place. And the pounding and the visions in the windows, the lights. I mean,
I think it was just the one person that they would see, like a big glowing face or something like that.
Yes. Right. And
yeah, this is back in 1975, so
right.
They did document everything. There was a lot of witnesses. It wasn't just like they say it's like the most documented too. It really is documented. I think there's really something happened there. They said that there was people, was it down the road or not far from them, that did practice witchery?
I think it was somewhat across from their property, just kind of.
Yes,
I don't have maybe like a diagonal.
Maybe.
Yeah, but close enough that the woman witch, as they were referring to her, was able to invite the teenage son over at one point, cut off a lock of his hair, and that she did practice in the black arts, and so she was very well, and that I guess she had like a following or something. However you want to call it, a little occult thing, but they apparently danced in that supposedly haunted cemetery and all that as well. Some of their stuff. So this was very well known. All this stuff was very well known and very well documented, as you said, by law enforcement. And
now how far is the cemetery from that house?
I think just like right down the street. I think it's on the same street. I don't know exactly. I'd have to look a little bit.
Same road, but how far down? Because a lot of times, like if the house is like, and I couldn't find any information. Did you? Was the house built on a cemetery?
That one on the first house, no. And we'll get to. There was some evidence.
About the first house.
Yeah, first house. There was no evidence that it's built on a cemetery. But now. Which would lead in kind of to our second story for that area.
Yeah, but we have to listen to this, though. Remember? So when the family there was weird fires that would start, like on a roll of toilet paper or whatever, and then the family finally just got scared and moved out.
Right. Because even the fire.
Then, yeah. But the next family that moved in there. They didn't have any problems. They lived, them and their children lived a happy life.
Right. But going back to
you would say that something was attached. They thought it was attached to the man. The father. Mm-hmm.
And of course, he died of a heart attack in the house, and of course, they couldn't revive him. But they did everything they could. So there's a lot of wild stuff to this. But I did find it interesting. Well, as you said, there was nothing really that you really didn't bother the other family that came in, but there was a couple things that they did see, if you remember from the film, where that's how the paranormal investigators would go back, and they would talk about, but it was nothing like what this other family had dealt with. Nothing at all. It was totally different. But I do remember the other one did say, for the most part, they didn't have any problem, but they had a couple incidents where they had, I think it's toward the middle of the film, where they did say that they had saw like maybe something in the window, but then of course the investigators came in to try to see if something was coming from the past or if there was somebody just trying to make out like it. And I think from everything in the film, as far as I'm concerned, that disclaimer is that yes, something happened there. There's something attached to the original people there. They don't really bother the other people, but yeah. But there's another house there too that other people had some problems, but nothing like the first one. I don't know. I guess the second one has a little bit of interesting stuff too, but the first one is just so over the top with so many reports and so much stuff. It's just there's no way of getting around this, that there's something there. And we will go back to, as one of our paranormal investigator friends try to say, they try to never say something's haunted, but she has connections to people who do get rid of demonic presences, and this seems so much more like a demonic presence, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know. I'm not 100% on that, but I mean, because I don't deal with demonic presences as far
I
as.
think it was attached to the guy.
Yeah.
Because, like a lot of times if a family moves out, I don't think it was attached to the house per se, because I don't know, the next family that moved in, they said they had a happy life, they grew up, 30 years, it was great, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, these documentary people, didn't they come in and they went to the house again, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was that house. And you would hear some stuff, so I don't know, maybe it was attached to the house too. But maybe truly wanting, maybe whatever it was, didn't like that one family.
Oh yeah, but we go back to the witch lady. She had at one point really pressed trying to buy that property, and he didn't want to buy. He didn't want to sell it to her. He refused to sell it to her, and that's when things went downhill. When he wouldn't sell to her, and I still can't figure out. They didn't really make that clear.
It was before that though. The stuff was happening before that happened.
Yeah, but that there was not stuff happening to the level that it would after that. That's when. I think if I remember correctly, that's where the teenage son had said, who was older now, had said that's when things really got really interesting, because it just kept getting worse and worse after that incident with her and his father. And so I'm looking at maybe she was already working on, and then this is someone practicing witchcraft, not knowing the ins and outs of how that works. I can tell you this though, that is dealing with stuff that you can be extremely evil with that, and there are some people that claim they're good witches of the wickedness and stuff like that, and this is two totally different things. But this person obviously was very into the satanic side of this kind of stuff, and to the level. That's why I believe it's more of a demonic presence. I think that she got something stirred up more from the demonic side of things, and that is the most dangerous thing you can deal with. Even my paranormal investigator we had on the show, Miranda, I've even talked about that. That's something that if she encounters a demonic presence, that's not something she deals with. She gets somebody else involved with that. Who deals with that kind of stuff, because she said that I'm not trying to draw in evil, I'm just trying to find out and do the investigation of what's causing, and if I know I'm not doing verbatim her words, I'm doing basically my words, kind of what she said to me. She said if I know there's like basically a demonic presence and I can pretty much tell this demonic, I'm definitely reaching out to someone that deals with getting rid of that kind of stuff, that I'm getting away from that. So there's paranormal investigators that know this stuff, know that sometimes it's a demonic presence. It doesn't always show up in their stuff, but these guys, and I don't know if it scared you, but on the second one, the fact that this thing on the second house could even reach out and like put scratches on somebody, that just shocked me. I was like, whoa. I was like, that is bad. That's bad. That's a bad situation.
Documented cases of that. That's more like an evil presence, like demonic, but it's actual,
Yeah, and the reason we're talking about this is because we watched the movies, and we just kind of, if anyone has ever seen these or talked about them, we'd love to hear from you, or if you know about this area, because this was a very, very haunted area. If there's anything to include.
Yeah, if you know about this area, come on the show. We'd love to have you.
Oh yeah, we'd love to have you. We'd love to have you talk about it, because the documentary did do a good job. But like you said, when we went to, and this is the reason we're asking this, if anyone hears the show and wants to come on and maybe talk about this a little bit more, it seemed like when we tried to do research, both Danielle and myself, it seems like we had a hard time getting a lot more information on it than it was just. I got a few things, but it just didn't give me really what I would like to get for it in depth. So like, if you know about this, we'd love to have.
Because I like to know what was the house built on, what was the history of the area.
Mm-hmm.
I think that has a lot to do with things.
Absolutely.
Because there's other houses on the same road that is haunted. So it's not just like, okay, was this whole place a battlefield? What happened?
Which we do know
is there a portal?
Yeah.
Is there some kind of portal?
Right.
It's just, is the cemetery opening up is there something that really badly happened and they're buried in the cemetery? I don't know.
Exactly.
I can't find the history, which bothers me because
It bothers me too.
I like to find the history because we can kind of usually figure out, well, it's possible it's coming from this or that, right?
Right.
But I can't find anything except a cemetery down the road.
Yeah. And I usually, one of the two of us usually find a little bit. I mean, like I said, I found a couple of small little, but nothing that really homes in on this whole situation here. And that's bugging Danielle. That's bugging me. So, yeah, we would love to know. Like now, I think in the documentary, I think the biggest thing that anything said was about all the people that died, from the plague virus or whatever, and and they burned things down. They got So, I mean, maybe there's a connection to that because it's so massive, so quick. But then again, who knows? But like I would say in the second movie with the things coming from the general store that was reported to authorities. You gotta love this. So at that time period, it wasn't like having computers and internet and all the stuff, and so they sent in the report saying that they had burned it down. Well, they didn't burn down. They had falsified that we did get that information from the documentary. I found that fascinating because today, with not too long ago, with the COVID virus and stuff, you would go back and you're like, no, there's no way you can fake that you didn't do this, you didn't do that, because our technology has. But back then, it was a different story. I mean, you might go some of those smaller areas. I mean, unless you went to that general store and hung out. I mean, you might not see your neighbor for, I don't know, a month. I mean, unless you just happen to be going to the store to get supplies, because that's just the way it was back then. A lot of people just didn't, other than go to get their provisions. A lot of times they get provisions for a month. I know this from some family history. And they would get, especially farm areas, they would get provisions for a month sometimes at a store, and then they would farm and do their stuff. Now, obviously, when off season, they might travel out a little bit more to get stuff. But yeah, during the season, they're going to get stuff for the month, and then they're going to have their supplies for a month. That's just kind of the way it was.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, what's the name of the county? Saginaw?
Well,
Saginaw?
see, I can't get that clear either because I've got one thing saying one thing and one thing saying something else. I do know it's in Saginaw County.
It's definitely Saginaw. Does that have anything? Was there Indians? Is that a sacred place for the Indians?
Oh yeah, there would have been Native American things in probably.
Maybe that's what it was.
Close to that area.
A very sacred
I think. I would have to try to do a little bit deeper dig. But
I can't find anything. It's like frustrating.
But I mean, Michigan did have tribes too. So I mean, I'd have to look up.
Yeah.
How close were?
It have to do with something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
something happened there, or some battle, or it became some, land that it was, you don't go on, and yet they built on it anyway. Right. Yeah, I always like to joke out here. I say, knock on wood. I've got a graveyard on my place. Never had any activity. Knock on wood. But we never tried to build anything on that particular part of the land. We never tried to put anything on that pit. So yeah, but further back before there were protections and stuff, there's a lot of people did a lot of crazy stuff that they probably shouldn't have done, and they a lot of them just didn't care. I mean, they find graveyards all the time to this day that just had disappeared, in deep forests and stuff, and then all of a sudden someone just happens to find them. So, and that's amazing to me too, because with the amount of technology we have, we still have this happening. So yeah. But I mean, if things get covered up or moved or something it's very hard to find stuff when stuff gets moved or destroyed. We have an incident. I was speaking of here in Kentucky. We have an incident where we put a lake in, and we basically the cemeteries of town, everything. And I probably have to look that up sometime, whether or not there's any interesting issues from that part of the lake. But yeah, I do know about that too. But most people, and they do say that kids have gone out there and stuff to the cemetery, and they say that's pretty active out there.
Yeah. And if you go back, like in my mom and dad's time, they used to keep. Of course, I mean, a lot of the city cemeteries are kept up, but all the cemeteries used to be kept up really well. And one of the things that they used to do, and I think it's funny because of how horror movies have just totally changed things, but with people going out and parking, and having sex and all, but it was a pretty common thing to have picnics and go when if you had a car to go and park and that was actually pretty common. It wasn't, according to my mom and dad, that was not unusual. It wasn't until later that people started changing the narrative in the horror films. When something happens in the horror film, something you in the cemetery, but basically that never really ever happened for the most part, as far as something weird like that. But now we have these paranormal. And I always think it's funny too, because we have so much paranormal activity now, and yet people used to go park and do this stuff in cemeteries, and then the horror films kind of skewed it a different way. But so it all kind of relates around, but it's just weird how, depending on your situation, how But I would have thought with this deal with the 70s about how bad this was, with having to call the police out constantly and everything, and all I can't even imagine that this road area and this house, and that is so documented and so much stuff. It's just, and of course, public information you can get now. Even though in the documentary, the former police officer is telling about all this stuff, but obviously you can find this stuff. You can, because this is well documented. This is like documentation like I couldn't even believe in law enforcement. Like do you remember? And I think if just correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm not asking you anything except correct me if I'm wrong. But I think he said, if I'm not mistaken, there was more hours put on this than there are on homicide investigations. Did I hear that correctly, or was I wrong? Do you remember?
I'm not sure.
Well, I remember him. I think I remember him saying that, and I was like, God, considering how much time on some homicide investigations are done, even into the cold case, I was like, whoa, that's a lot of documentation. So,
yeah.
Yeah, so obviously something happened out there. So again, we're going to...
If you want, what's the name of it? It's The Haunting of Dice Road?
Haunting on Dice Road.
It's a documentary, and you can see it on Prime. Mm-hmm. And it is good. Mm-hmm. It's your normal, where they go in and they start investigating and hearing stuff.
The documentary, both documentaries have 5 stars, which is really good. So that means it was very intriguing to a lot of people that may not just been in the regular paranormal field too.
They get stuff on camera.
Yes, they have some very good stuff on camera. Some very impelling, intriguing evidence. Yeah, very much so. Well, so if you do know anything, please let us know. We would love to have you on the show if you know anything personal about it. If you've ever lived in the area, know something about the area, or have something to talk about that area, we would love to have you on. So please reach out to us at the 13th Destiny Podcast at gmail.com. Let us know, or send me a text at 270-303-1818. Either one of those locations. Either Danielle and I both share the Gmail, and then of course the phone number is also used for the show, but it's always best to send me a text first, because I get so many calls from people that have nothing to do with this. So we want to make sure that that you're interested in the show, and we would love to have you on, and I'll work on getting with you. Okay, so that's all for today. Like I said, we did a short show. We just wanted to talk about it a little bit.
Good.
So let me get ready to close out here. And let me remind you of our sponsor. Again, our sponsor is the tshirtgrove.com. That is.
Grove.com. Everything's on sale.
Everything's
Yay.
on sale. And I will have a link in the show notes with that as well. All right, Danielle, thank you for being here. And
Bye.
I'll talk to you in a bit.
Hi, everybody.
I'm going to finish and close out. Thank you for being here on the 13th Destiny Podcast with Magnum, and of course my wonderful, lovely co-host Danielle Long out of San Diego, California. Danielle's been a part of the show now since the beginning of the year. I know a lot of you really enjoy having her on and having me interact with her. I do too, so thank you so much. And again, not only what we just talked about, but anything you have about paranormal or any of the other subjects that we talk about, from aviators, private investigators, interesting people from real life, models, photographers. We've had singers, songwriters. We've had them all on. We have a little bit of a hodgepodge of a show. We do kind of call it with the paranormal. So this is kind of our main subject. Then we do, sometimes we had a true crime writer on. So you never know what we're going to have on. We just kind of go with this show and keep going. And thank you for supporting us, and we need more support. Please please like, subscribe, and of course we are working every day to get more and more stuff done to make this show even more enjoyable. Thank you again for being here on the 13th Destiny podcast with Magnum, and have a great day, evening, morning, wherever you're at. God bless.